to pick up on somebody's question, which was about the protocol between the video referee and the referee. I understand that the video referee did recommend a red card, and the referee chose to sin bin, and he's entirely within his rights to do that. The process is that the video referee reviews the angles and gives his recommendation as to an outcome, and the referee will have had a live view of it. He's probably seen it on the screen as well, and he will form his own opinion. And
so that's slightly different to VAR, where could you go back and have a look at the screen because you've made a mistake, or you might want to...
Yeah, the video referee will review any incident where play is stopped. A video referee will review that incident. Now, if there's been a play of the ball that's happened, the most that they can ever do is recommend an on report. That player can't be dismissed or sent off because it's kind of the game's moved on. But in that instance where it's penalised immediately, it's obviously reviewed. And I think Tom got to the right outcome. Tom Grant got to the right outcome, and and fair play to him. It took some courage to do that, because the easy decision would be probably to red card somebody because you've just red carded somebody else on the other side. And for me, you have to judge each one on its own merits.
Well, let me read this statement that Castleford Tigers have released. From Danny Wilson, he says, "I think you could see everybody in the game's reaction to Liam Watts alone." Everybody? I'm putting in an editorial comment. At the end of the day, people make
It's
mistakes. Yeah.
No, at the end of the day, is the night.
I think it was Mike Dickin, the great old talk radio presenter, who used to cut people off if they said "at the end of the day" and stuff like that. He didn't like his health being questioned. My health was not in question, he would say. At the end of the day, people make mistakes. Players make mistakes. Match officials make mistakes.
Certainly do, yeah.
I should have pointed at Phil and said
I made
people.
plenty.
I think got players there. And you can live with that if it sits with the game. When it goes to the match review panel, it gets graded in a way in comparison to other instances over the weekend. We're left a bit confused, so we need to get our house in order pretty quick. I don't know if that's the RFL or Castleford. To do that, we need some explanation of why they are graded the way they are. We've asked for an urgent meeting with the powers that be for some explanation. The powers that be. Is that just Rob Hicks?
But they've had all the
what was it? We had
and it's all on the website anyway.
If we
They
had
will have had a
meeting,
conversation with Paul Cullen, because I'm sure Paul Cullen will have been on the phone, or if not, he will be, and there will be a conversation, and there'll be an understanding and a grading. There'll be a charge, won't there? And in the charge, it will state, the reasons why that player is being charged. I think when you watch the footage, I think that you could sort of lip read what they were saying.
I don't think they were too impressed.
No, I think the one word that was clean that I could read was mitigation. And I think that their argument was that he was dropping. And for me, when you watch it, he doesn't drop. He drops as a result of the contact. So I don't think that's an argument. And, shoulder charges have been outlawed for a number of years. Mm-hmm. The players have to wrap. There's no wrapping motion whatsoever. And therefore rightly sent off and rightly charged in the way he has been. He's not a victim. And that incident will have been reviewed against not just incidents this year, but incidents in previous years, because it's a shoulder charge. Shoulder charge have been outlawed for a number of years. So, they're wasting the time, in my opinion, if they're going to appeal that.
At what point, when a player's been banned multiple times for not long times, but multiple bans over the years, does a club say, maybe there is a problem with the player, or the way we're coaching the player, or successive coaches have coached the player, for that player to keep being banned for many of various
reasons? I think we mentioned on this podcast before about James Bentley. James Bentley, had a number of incidents, didn't he, over, 12 months or so. But, he seems to have, changed his ways a little bit. He hasn't been in front of the disciplinary, I don't think, for a while. And, ultimately, players and clubs have to look at what's within their own control. Don't give the referee a decision to make.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was teams going down to 12 men, because we had a direct contrast between Friday night and Saturday. So on Saturday we're told that it's absolutely heroic that Catalan with 12 men for an entire half have beaten Warrington. But we're also told that at the same time that Castleford are playing Wigan, not the Friday night,
on the other
exactly
channel,
the same time, the game was over the minute Liam Watts got his red card. Well, but it isn't.
It's not.
It clearly isn't.
It's nonsense, is that argument. Because it works both ways, and there's been countless examples over the years where you've seen that.
And yet, it does take a pretty exceptional team to win with 12 men for a half against a team with 13, but it's not a given.
No,
and teams are going to have to get used to it because this is going to happen
that's
more
it.
this year.
And I'm pretty sure in training they will have been practicing defending with 12 because the reality was there was probably always going to be a number of cards early in the season.
And Catalan were fantastic. And maybe Warrington didn't throw enough at them with that extra man, but because of scoreboard pressure that Arthur Morgs tried put on Warrington, they seemed to panic a little bit more than the Dragons, whose defence was... But there was enough of that game still to go for Castleford to say, we're not throwing in the towel now just because we've had a man sent. Now, that narrative isn't right, that just because you had a man sent off, the game ended. But I saw quite a lot of that on social media, and I thought, well, haven't I just watched the game where it's the absolute reverse of that?
Absolutely.
Gav has said, if you're going to crack down on head contact, then you have to start cracking down on players going into tackles with their heads down. Spear tackles have been outlawed too, and I find it insulting to insinuate that the Cas player was willing to risk permanent injury by diving headfirst into the ground to get a penalty.
No, I'm not suggesting he was doing that, but if you do a forward roll, you'll tuck your head in. As my little son goes to gymnastics, he'll be taught to tuck his chin in and tuck his head in as he does a forward roll. So I'm not suggesting that that's what his intention is, but ultimately his actions lead to his head being on the floor, in my opinion, and that's shared by Match Review clearly, and was shared by the on-field referee.
Shoulder charges running into a player with shoulder, completely different from the union rules of having to wrap. They can't just make contact to the head. The problem is, in Rugby League in 2024, we went to that briefing, and what I took away from it, because I forgot most of it, was if you make contact with the head, at the very least it's going to be a penalty.
And it is the responsibility of the tackler to avoid contact with the head, not the person who's running with the ball. So I think that again, we've only seen clips of the Tom Amone one, and we don't want to go through every one.
No, I've not seen that one actually.
And it's head-on-head contact, but
Right.
he's standing upright to somebody coming towards him, and there's no avoidance. And we were told in that briefing that it's the responsibility of the tackler to make sure that the heads don't clash. Now,
that was always going to be a controversial one when it happened. Now, I've not seen that instance, so it's difficult for me to comment. And I appreciate it was on TV because they're all on TV, but it wasn't on a main channel, if you like. So it's probably not got the traction.
You can't just watch every card. I know people saying you. Oh, come on.
But
No,
head clashes are still controversial in rugby union. Head clashes are still controversial in rugby union, and they've had sort of these sort of harder policies for a
reasons
while.
for all of this, it goes beyond. It's a head clash. It goes to the game needs to be seen to be taking steps to ensure that contact with head is at its absolute minimum if they're to get insured.
Yeah.
So nobody can complain, and it will every week a club will be affected by a head-on-head contact. So it's something that we've got to live with.
Yeah, the defenders have to avoid
wherever they can,
or
at least be seen to be dipping out of. There can be mitigating circumstances, but if you stand fully upright and your head meets the ball carrier's head, you will be deemed to be responsible.
I mean, going back to the framework that they're working to, as far as I can gather from listening to the audio that you can hear on TV when the referee's pulling the players out and going through almost a step-by-step, almost like a tick box thing. They're looking at, is there contact with the head? Yes or no? If there is contact with the head, is that forceful or dangerous?
Yeah.
If it's forceful, is it a low-level force or high-level force? And are there any mitigation or aggravating factors? And in a way, it's a fairly straightforward process, so they've got to just go work through that process. Now, clearly they've probably not got them all right, because Momorowski, is that how you say his name?
Momorowski.
I've got it wrong, but I'm near enough.
Not Vom.
Momorowski. Is that it?
Momorowski.
Yeah. Say it quickly. He got sin-binned, and there was a long delay to arrive at that decision, and I think too long to arrive at a decision. Yeah. And the game does have to try and avoid that, because we want continuity in the game. So he hasn't been charged, which would suggest that he probably shouldn't have been sin-binned. So that was an interesting one, and I think the Crowther one in the Catalan Warrington game was sin-binned, and he's not being charged. So
I think he's got a game.
Oh, has he? I didn't see that on
the
the
contrary behaviour or something, wasn't it? I think.
Oh, was that what it was? Okay, yeah, because that was a hit off the ball, really. So I was surprised when I was looking down quickly, and I thought, I've not seen that.
Yeah,
name.
I think he got a game.
Yeah, fair enough. So what I would say is, across the weekend, I actually think the referees, and well, not just the referees, the on-field officials and the video referees, I think they've done really well.
And I think the other thing is the explanations that we've been able to hear clearly have gone through that process that you've got, the player's been called over, we think it's forceful, we don't think there's any mitigating circumstances, therefore go and sit down. And actually, if you can hear more of that explanation, fans
agreed, and that kind of brings me on to my next point, which is I think there's an opportunity for the video referee's microphone to be on air in the discussion. So I don't think I have no problem with Jack Smith as video referee recommending to Tom Grant it's a red card and Tom Grant saying no thank you, it's a sin bin. But have it open, have it transparent. And I think when you hear the video referee talking through try decisions, no try decisions, you may still disagree with the decision, but you understand the process, you understand how they've arrived at a decision. So for me, it will also fill that void where referees and touch judges are sort of loitering around waiting for feedback, to actually just open the channel open. Let's hear the conversation, how they're arriving at the decision.
Now that we've only got one commentator and one summariser, which is a much cleaner way of presenting it, you've actually got the gap to be able to do that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Kevin, you'll be pleased to know that Harry Smith hasn't been banned, so he will play in the World Club Challenge. Well, if Matt picks him on, he might not pick him. You don't know. He could pick Ryan Hampshire.
And by the way, before the conspiracy theories come out, similar people were complaining last year that was it George Williams was banned for the England games and shouldn't have been banned.
Hilarious.
So, I would suggest that the charge is reflective of the incident, and has nothing to do with the game that's taking place.
No, I think the bigger clubs do get preferential treatment. I think we need to keep that conspiracy theory going.
Are Leeds still a big club? Are they still a big club?
They are in Leeds.
What rules are we playing on Saturday?
No idea.
I don't know. I'm looking at you as if you've got any influence. I don't know why.
No idea, and that'll obviously be a discussion between the clubs really, because it's two domestic competitions that are coming together. One would imagine they'll play as near as they can to the international interpretations.
Well, we haven't had the referee appointed yet, have we? But
That's tomorrow.
I'm assuming a referee hasn't flown over from Australia.
No, I would highly doubt it. It's all about money, isn't it? These events, and so I'm pretty sure it'll be an English set of officials.
Here's Adam. I often find it quite arrogant and condescending when RFL leaders or journalists say that players just need to learn or adjust. Not all, but some poor tackles are not the result of conscious choice, but the result of players having to make split-second reactions under fatigue and pressure. We may be trying to create something that is unviable, just as Alex Walmsley and many other players state. We'll come on to the players in a moment.
He has a point there. But and habits do sometimes take a while to change. Having said that, players playing the ball with the foot is, I would say, I don't know what the stats are, but it's very high percentage players are now touching the ball with the foot, never mind making a genuine attempt. So maybe that's an easier fix than tackle technique.
But tackle technique has never said go and hit the head of the opponent.
No, or the neck.
He did that. He did that.
But and that's the danger, isn't it?
Long enough ago that all players playing under the current rules kind of adjusted to that.
Yeah.
Game's gone soft.